during a time when the apocalypse has been reduced to fodder for tweets, stand-up comedy, and campaign commercials. Everyone is so near, everyone has got the fear. It's holding on. It's holding on. When you live inside of a future dystopia, you can't really stop and comment on the omnipresent bleakness. When bleak is right there, it is no longer bleak. The fear is so near you can't even see it. It is just normal. Cue the applause sign. While Stephen Colbert didn't mention it by name, the Radiohead album that most epitomizes the music that is uneasy and anxious with regards to society, our government, technology, the general direction of the world, is Kid A, the band's fourth LP, released in 2000. Kid A was the first Radiohead album to top the charts in the United States and in Britain, where the band had initially struggled to find an audience, even as Creep made them stars in the States in the early 90s. It went platinum within just 1 week. Kid A later won a Grammy for Best Alternative Album, along with garnering a nomination for one of the night's top honors, Album of the Year. It was the band's second nod in that category, after OK Computer in 1998. In time, Kid A would come to be regarded as one of the best albums of the aughts, and then a defining record of the early 21st century. Even as rock music receded from the mainstream of music culture, Kid A remained one of the only rock records to be considered truly important, a landmark touchstone for the modern era. And yet these statistics and accolades belie what was, in the fall of 2000, a highly contentious release. Kid A was Radiohead's grand digression from the guitar rock splendor of their previous two albums, 1995's The Bends and 1997's OK Computer. A chilly, insular work in which the band's melodic, larger-than-life dynamics were muted and the catchy choruses were garbled like dial-up signals. A self-consciously difficult work meant to usher Radiohead into a new century, though it also struck many listeners as merely a pretentious, anti-pop provocation. Kid A is like getting a massive eraser out and starting again, Tom York declared upon the album's release. I find it difficult to think of the path we've chosen as rock music. While critics were divided on the merits of Kid A, the passion of those who hated it outweighed the relatively cautious regard of its admirers. The most memorable pan dismissed Kid A as tubby, ostentatious, self-congratulatory, look ma, I can suck my own cock, whiny old rubbish. While other reviews weren't quite that insulting, the skepticism of music writers toward Kid A nonetheless was pronounced and often withering. Fans were also polarized. Some felt Kid A was a bold experiment that pushed Radiohead into an exciting new sonic dimension, while others lamented that the finest guitar band of their generation had abandoned what they were best at, stirring, arena-filling anthems. What couldn't be denied is that Kid A, love it or hate it, was very much a product of its moment. It was the definitive musical statement about how it felt to live at the start of an uncertain new era, right after the end of an old, fraught one. In that way, it was tied to the cinema of its time. Movies like The Matrix, Fight Club, and Vanilla Sky arrived between 1999 and 2001, and were infused with deep apprehension about modernity and how technology disconnected people from one another, as well as a core essence of themselves. For those of us who treated the album as an event, Kid A signified a cultural turning point. Even if you didn't get the how of Kid A, you intuitively understood the why. It was a confusing album for a deeply confused time. The anxiety at the start of the 21st century wasn't unique. In the late 1800s, the French called it fin du siècle, which translates simply to end of the century, but more broadly describes the pervasive feelings of wariness and pessimism about the onset of the 20th century. For citizens of the late 19th century, this ennui was driven by the changes wrought by the Second Industrial Revolution, in which new systems, including railroads and telegraphs, were implemented that connected people across vast tracts of land like never before, in a way that must have felt as revolutionary as the dawn of the Internet seemed 1 century later. People in the late 1800s also felt unmoored by works of scientific scholarship, like On the Origin of Species, Charles Darwin's 1859 book, postulating that evolution, and not God, was the guiding force of the human race. What if God wasn't real? What then